Well, I think the next point of order is to talk about the show and to show the video that Nori submitted. Is that next?
Yep, that sounds good. I'm ready for it.
All right. Nori Thorne always does a lovely video for us of the award winners for the show. And she is not here today, so I've got to kick over to screen share and hold on just a moment, please. Okay, and this is the awards video. Because we weren't able to have a reception with everyone there, when people brought in their works, if they were getting an award, she did this little video. Other people are coming in and out. There's a little chatting in the hall, but I hope that you will enjoy this. Can everyone see? So thank you to Nori for doing that for us. And only for my ease of managing the Zoom meeting, before we go to Eve Miller, our speaker for the day, I would like to just continue on my screen and show you who won the Artist of the Month, so I don't have to get back to it in a minute. So if I could please announce that now. And our Artist of the Month painter is Rita Romero for this piece that she called the Dragon Conch. The Spider Conch. I'm sorry about that. The Spider Conch. So congratulations to her for this stunning piece. Okay, well, I believe, Sharon, that takes care of all that we need to do before we introduce our speaker for the day.
Okay.
So Sharon, if you would like to
will do.
Give an introduction, and I'll show a couple of the
of her. Okay, there she is in New York. Wow. Okay, here's the thing. Last year, Ken and Peggy and Rich and I don't know, a bunch of us, we were all trying to figure out who is going to be our judge for this coming year. And what I did was I went and found some artwork for various different artists that I'd been sort of following on Facebook, and I thought they were really good. And I submitted their names, websites, and some examples, and everybody really liked Eve Miller's work. And so as a result, we asked her to please be our awards judge for this last member show. Just before the meeting, I asked Eve, she has, I'm actually looking at her website as we speak here, and she has pages and pages of awards and accolades, and she's master circle and signature members of all kinds of wonderful groups, and everything that we can only desire to be, actually. But she wanted me to point out that in her mind, her greatest achievement is that she didn't start painting until she was 60 years old, and she never had any art lessons. And this can only give all of us hope, because that's pretty much when I started painting as well. I was about 62, I guess. Alan and I had just retired from being teachers. And as it turns out, Eve was a teacher also. And it looks like she might have been a teacher in languages, but I'm not sure. We'd have to ask her. Anyway, she actually was born in Belgium, and then moved with her family when she was young to the Hudson River Valley, which is Christine Dabrowski's home turf as well. I don't know whether they knew each other back then, but anyway, and since then she has moved to South Carolina, where she lives near a marsh. And so some of these paintings that you're seeing right here are close to her home. And she paints these paintings, I want to say every single day, because I'm friends with her on Facebook, and I pretty much see them every single day. And some of them are quiet and contained. Some of them are jumping right off the page. Some of them are, here's one, like a tonalism kind of thing. This particular scene, she has found a lot of I don't know what to say exactly, that it offers a lot to her artistic abilities and curiosity. And so she can take this exact same scene every day and make it into something new and different, which is something I have to really admire her for, because I'm one of these people that I have to paint a portrait this day, a landscape the next day, a car the third day. I can't seem to to get myself grounded in such a way that she has. And yet she has been able to really do a lot with a particular motif, which has garnered her many, many awards. And so she's currently a signature member of the Pastel Society of America, and as I said, in the IAPS Master Circle, and she will be teaching at IAPS this year, and has a lot to offer us. She's also a member of the Pastel Guild of Europe, as is Daggy Wallace, our workshop person coming up at the FIPPIN, and a lot of other associations here. I could read them all down. There's a lot of them. She's studied with Albert Handel since she's turned to art. Richard McKinley, Bill Creevy, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, Doug Dawson, Stan Spurlack. Actually, I think Stan lives kind of back in her area, I think. And Barbara Janicki, and Sally Strand and Kim Lordier. So she has works hanging everywhere and has been in numerous shows and won all kinds of awards. So what I can encourage you to do is to go to her website and take a look at some of her work, and kind of read through what she has accomplished since she turned 60 years old. I think it gives new meaning to goals and habits that I need to acquire. Anyway, this is, oftentimes we see a really great artist and we find that they've gone to art school and they've done all these things and come up through the ranks and whatever. And it's like you say, well, I'll never get there because I didn't get to start way back when like they did. But this just is really giving me, when she said that she started at the age of 60, I thought, well, heck, I got to get busy. I think maybe I could do a little bit better here if I just try. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I will let her elaborate a little bit more on anything that she wants to, actually, as she's talking with us. But I am just really pleased to have her here. And she gives before she starts the demo, is what I was going to say, she is going to give us a little bit of perspective on some of the award choices that she made. So we will probably hear that first before we hear, before we see the demonstration. But
Thank you, Sharon.
Turn this over to Eve.
Thank you very, very much. That was very kind.
Now, Eve, can you flip your camera so we can see you now? I made you back to sharing.
You did. Well, okay, hold on. Let me go back. Give me a second. I got it.
There you go.
Okay.
There we
We're
go.
in. Okay. So just tell me how many, I have notes on all of these paintings because it was such a calibrated collection, and it was, and it's a beautiful collection from the member show. So I want to make sure that we honor people who just make the effort to, I entered shows, and I think I entered so many that it didn't hurt me anymore if I didn't get in, but something did happen along the way. And this is what I'd like to share about this particular business of shows. Once I started keeping a daily painting practice, which is maybe the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't paint with a purpose of having a painting. I frequently will time it 30 minutes. Some days I don't. Some days I'll paint and it goes in my simmering pile and I'll go back to it some other time. But I do something every day. So if it's just a question of doodling, between the lines on the newspaper while I have no friends, but if I had friends and was on the phone, doodling or something like that, that alone would be okay too. Some hand-eye coordination, something. I'll take a mirror and do in my sketchbook, and I don't do portraits. I've only done a few, but I'll do a self-portrait in my sketchbook sometimes. But I have this quest, this obsession is really the choice word, for doing pastel landscapes. And that comes from, I think, the fact that being in Belgium, and that's a low country, and the Hudson River Valley, which is divine, and then moving to Long Island, which is again marshes and low country where I was not in an urban area, and moving to South Carolina on a whim, on a one-day visit while I was still teaching French and Spanish. And my husband said, would you retire to live here? And I said, I'd live in a tent. Well, of course, now I'm living in my garage, but that's another story. So basically, it's familiar. And I think it becomes very easy to feel comfortable doing a daily practice when you're familiar with an area. So there's a sense of place. And I also feel that if you don't dwell, not you, generic you, on your outcome, but rather enjoy the process, because it's a spiritual experience. And for some reason, that's what I found. And it's like a high, and I want to do it again. I can't wait to paint when this is over, because I have a whole slew of notes of what I want to paint still today. So it's this drive. That said, I'm going to talk about a few of the things from the paintings. And if there's anything I don't mention or someone, I have notes, so please ask me. In reference to about the Doty's Best of Show, what struck me the most about this particular story was the emotional impact of this. I think that's a very important factor in painting, to connect with the viewer. I have no idea who these people are, and it doesn't matter. Of course, it matters who they are, but it doesn't matter for the emotional segment. And so I'm very touched by the whole there's a warmth, a love, there's a diagonal with the heads that's exciting. And it's left up to the viewer to finish. So I thought this was exceptional. If anybody has any questions along the way, just ask me. In reference to the first place signature, the Spider Conch by Rita Romero, the triangular armature is very interesting to me, because I think armatures are so important. And the detail in the lace is extremely well done. There's a nice balance to all this. It's very organic. And I think it merited her awards. The second place, the besties, being an animal person, these guys are so terrific. I feel like I could just pick up that paw. There's total love here. It's a great composition. Let's go on to, okay. The Sagrada family, the church, that's a lovely piece as well. It does engulf us, and it feels like you're right. Well, he's very adept with drawing skills, but you feel like you're safe in a church environment just of the nature of the composition. So I thought that was great. Sabrina Lake by Sharon, I thought very interesting anchoring in this. The overlapping is a great technique to use also. And I think that because when I took it to black and white, I felt that the values were, it had more light values, but still it was very dramatic. And of course, that diagonal line again is very, it moves, it's exciting, it's energetic. I'd like to just say one other thing from the hydrangeas and pears. That's first place associate. It was I think it's Kathy Drake. Again, that was a triangular type armature, very effective. When you let's go to the easel because I can explain what I mean about why that's dramatic. Let me see if I can just switch this over. Okay. So I'm going to try not to trip on all the wires. We're over here. What happens, I hope you can see this. If you can't, I'm going to say it out loud. This is a board that is my reminder board, basically. And so when I start to paint, these three were my thumbnails for today's reference. Always 3 to 5 basic, simple shapes. I don't do complex anything. It's always 3 to 5 basic, simple shapes. So you have a sky, you have a midground, you have a foreground. I have a sky to play with. I have an aerial perspective. It's my thing to do things like this. And so the first thing I do is I do my outline thumbnail. And if somebody doesn't know how to do that freehand, you can just take a piece of tracing paper over let's say it's a 4x6 photo, and you can just mark out the 3 to 5 basic shapes. I then use that outline, but this time I put in my value sketch, where my lights are, my midtones, and my darks. And I do usually use those tomboy, is it tomboy or tombow? Tomboy, with I think a W. Pens, can do it with a pencil. It's just the pens are easy to use. And I paint from my value sketch. I don't paint from a picture. And I don't paint definitely from a color picture because I love playing with color. And I'm not married to my reference photo. All it does is inspire me. I paint from memory. I'd say by now, maybe about half, maybe 60% of the time, I don't have anything in front of me. And Kevin McPherson, who's a wonderful oil painter, he's a living legend, they say, a contemporary. He also says, train yourself. It's in one of his books too. When you're out in plein air or before you're going to do anything, spend 3 hours with the scene, looking, asking questions. How would I paint this? Where are the darks? What did the light change? All of that kind of stuff. So that when you're actually painting, it becomes, people go, how can you make a painting every day in a day like that? Because all of the things that have had to take place to produce and create and co-create with nature, it's already happened in my head. I've already thought about, sometimes I dream about it, like people dream in languages. I honestly sometimes dream about what I'm going to paint. I use a bunch of apps. I use, like this is right here, this is a great one, Color Snap. It takes a photograph and it shows me the colors within that particular scene. What happens is that I kind of look at it, and I do try to take a plate, a regular paper plate, and limit my palette, very important. And then my accents could be other colors, but I do try to limit my palette to 15, 20 sticks. And then I try to put them back in the same place, and they never do. You know, and I have boxes everywhere, but I try. So once my value sketch is done, I do a notan, the Japanese term, to check the aesthetics. Something has to dominate. That's what the big secret is about the notan. You can't have this 50-50 where it's equal amounts of light and dark. It doesn't work. So in order to create this notan, I took my lights and midtones from my value sketch, and all the light and medium tones went to light. That's what created the white. And then the mid darks and the darks went to dark. And that's how this was created. And then I decide, maybe this works, and maybe I need to adjust it. But this is the time to adjust, not once I'm over on this side, because it's too late. Well, it's never too late. I can always find a way to try to fix it. which is another claim to fame. I mean, I'll make it work somehow. And if you have, at this point, I look for eye movement. Where do I want your eye to go? I think about armature. I often will use an S armature because it's either a path or a stream or something in the marsh. That's an easy one. I look for balance, like the seesaw, make sure there's a balance. I pick out my focal point. And I also check that I don't have equal amounts of anything. I frequently will paint 60-40 or 70-30 as far as darks and lights. But when it's that hydrangea painting, who we talked, is it Kathy Drake, maybe? I hope I'm right. It gets dramatic when you have 80-20, either 20% of the painting is light and then 80% is dark, or vice versa. And then this word, squint, is so important, and I can't see it enough because I still forget to squint. And that's the only way you're going to see values. And the trick with values is if when you squint, you don't see a demarcation, then the values are the same, which is extremely important when you get to things like the sky, because the sky, and one of the ways and the reason I have this up here is it reminds me that a sky is fractured color. Sky isn't just blue. Sharon, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Is this okay before I start?
It is, it's good. The only thing that we haven't been able to see is the top portion of your notan sheet. You're like,
You
the
gotta
sheet.
tell me, you gotta
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
me.
yeah. Okay, right there.
Okay,
But
just
now,
always tell me.
okay, so
I
then
can't seem
when
to
you're
get
ready
my
to,
note.
when you're
And
ready
I'll
to,
move it back up in a few minutes so
Okay.
you'll see the rest. Yeah,
right,
I'll
right,
move
okay,
it.
good, good.
I'll move it, sure. So the fractured colors in a sky that work are, it's an analogous color scheme. I keep my color wheel in front of me. So when I say it's an analogous color scheme, I pick 3 neighbors that get along, or I could pick 4. But I frequently will pick for the sky a blue violet, and a blue green. And when I squint, it all works because there's no demarcation, so that the values are the same. I could have had other hues, but that's what I'm going to do today, so that's why that's there. I keep a composition finder. I like the Gorilla Painting one because it's small, it's portable, it has complementary colors on one side, it has a value guide on the other side. I am a proponent of the great Richard McKinley, who I attribute anything I do to. He says that in landscape, you shouldn't go darker than 6.5 on the value scale. And sometimes I go darker. And so when you see, let me bring this up. Okay.
That's
I'm
good.
sorry, my face is always in there, but you don't need to really see the other part. All you really need is this, and you can see in here that I'm going to get a new board. I ordered another board. It's getting really, really bad. I keep the elements and the principles of design for my own erudition, you know, that I make sure I check these things. You know, do I have line when I first sketch? That's my line. What are the shapes? Is there repetition? My thing is texture. That's what I'm doing at IAPS. T is for texture. I add a lot of products. I'm not going to be able to probably fly with all the products, but I might do a few boards ahead of time as samples. And then what else creates a good composition? All these things: balance, contrast, emphasis, your proportion, your patterns, the gradient. There's a lot to painting if you start analyzing it. So rather than constantly make myself crazy with all these possible concepts, I keep it in my vision, and it'll trigger it. And if I really see that something's wrong in what I'm doing, as wrong, not harmonious, I'll take my mirror and look backwards at it and I'll just take the mirror and I can just right away see. I take this old broken handled mirror and I just look back and it'll show me right away what's, sticking out. I use other color wheels besides the the most common color wheel we use. I use an analogous color wheel, which is wonderful for picking out dominant hues and discords. It's just something, if you don't know about it, I would advise look into it. I also use the color spectrum color wheel. This looks very blurry on mine. It doesn't matter because you'd have to see it close up. This shows all the values of a color. So if for example, I have a sky that has this particular color, blue-green, and I want to tone it down, I know I would need its complement, and I go all the way across, and here it is. So all these are tools. All the apps are tools, and tools are good, real good. So to keep going here, let me just put this down. Any questions? Okay.
I have one.
Yes.
Can I just ask you what your app is again on the right with your photo and then the colors that are
Color Snap. Color Snap.
Snap?
It's called Color Snap. It's on at the App Store. I also use the app Notinizer. I do my own value sketch, but I check it in Notinizer because I can change in that the percentage of light, mediums, and darks. I use a bunch of apps, to tell you the truth. Let me see, where's my phone? And you can look them up, but I'll tell you what I use.
I use Notinizer also. Notinizer is really great because you can do 2 values, you can do 3 values, 4 values,
Right.
five values. So you can set it up any way you want and check it out. And it's easy to do. I have it on my phone. So I take pictures with my phone and then I can just send them to Notinizer and look at them. It's just easy, really easy.
And it's an instant visual for your, you can say, well, this would work better. And you can go as far as 5 levels, I believe. The other one is, I have a grid. I don't ever use it, but I have a grid on here. The only thing I would ever do with a grid is decide on a focal point, but I would do that ahead of time. I also use, Mobile Monet, which is very good. It's a little, what do I want to say? It changes your photo into a more impressionistic painting if you want to lean that way, or other. It's an interesting app. That's basically what I use. But Notinizer is a favorite for sure, and Color Snap is a favorite. It's just real easy to use. And if somebody tries it and can't figure it out or something, just email me and I'll tell you, because it's not anything complicated. Okay, so wish me luck, because Sharon made me out to be this magical person today. Yeah, thank you, Miss Sharon. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a my sketch is so basic that I'm not even going to do it with a pencil. I'm going to use the new Pastel. I have Blue Violet, which is 244. I like very much the Blue Spruce also, which is 305. I have, these are small pieces. Let's see if I can get you to see my small pieces. Okay, that's all I have. And all I'm going to do is, there's an orange, there's a pink, a purple, there's the Blue Violet and the Blue Spruce. So I'm going to, I think what I might do first is just put in my horizon. I don't always do it the same way, but I do. One thing that I learned, one thing I learned from Richard, but another thing I learned from Ms. Haywood Sullivan. So he always puts a dot in the center where the viewer's eye will tend to go. And then she marks off tick marks, and sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't, but because it's just part of my habit, I always put them in. So I have my tick marks. One is higher than the other, you're eyeballing it. I'm not going to take a ruler and all that stuff. I'm going to have, based on the reference, so as far as using the reference for horizon, okay, I'm going to put in a horizon with a dark, it happens to be the blue violet. I bought out, I think, all of the blue violets that were still available. And before I go any further with, and then what I will do is dilute this whole area that's done with new pastel with rubbing alcohol, but I'm going to put the sky in first, because if I put in the rubbing alcohol, then from the sky it's going to fall down. I could do it either way. I've done it, you know, I do it both ways, but that's, I wanted you to see the sky. I do the sky using these colors two ways. One, I will use my palm of my hand, small area. I'm not going to do a huge sky and a large sky and rub it and bleed with the palm of my hand. But I do use, if I am going to blend, and most of the time I'll just blend with the actual stick. As long as my values are correct, it'll just be a normal or natural gradient. But I have a little thing from, hold on one second. I thought I had it out. It's a little foam. It's not a foam from the insulation. It's a foam, a skinny little piece of foam. Here it is. I did have it ready. And it's, you get it at Home Depot, and it comes, it's like $2 for a big pack of it, and it works wonderfully. And then, you know, you can wash it, but why bother? Because it comes in a big roll of it. And it's for carpenters and people who need to have fillers in joints when they're putting drywall. And I do have the actual name of it in one of my boxes from my last workshop. It's still packed. So it's just this little foamy thing. Okay, so I will use that to blend sometimes. So what I'm going to do is take, and I always keep, if I'm painting on UArt, it's easy. If I'm painting, say, using pastel matte, which is expensive, I don't really have pieces of pastel matte to keep in my hand to test my colors. But that's another reason why I put a neutral color tape when I'm working, because I like to just see what the color is against. This already is tinted because it's a sand color. This is UArt 400. I'm gonna use it 12 by 9. I always get it mounted. I mount my own using repositional adhesive on gator board. But as long as it's not too much bigger than this, I can mount it myself, and it won't have a bunch of bubbles or anything. And I could use a roller or books or whatever. But I am happier when they come in the mail and I've just got it right in front of me, it's all done. But if it's if I'm going to be teaching you know, 5-day workshop, and I need a bunch of these, and sometimes students forget to bring the right thing, then I have a bunch that I've mounted myself. So this is from my this is a separate little trove of pastels that I keep separate, that I just use really for the sky. And the blues are basically the blue grays. There's some warm blues as well. But I think what I will do is I will start with what we probably call, you know, the blue green is a teal. So I'm just, and on a scale of 1 to 10, oh, this board has some, that's okay. it has some, from them mounting it, has some marks. Okay, so I'm gonna use that and maybe a lighter version of that, a little bit of a lighter version of that. Not that much difference. And I'm gonna put a blue, real light touch, real light touch. And then what did we say? We said blue, blue violet. Okay, so I think for my blue violet, I'm gonna go a little lighter and use this. And I'm just going back and forth. And since these are all the same value, when I squint, I'm adding a pink in here. And we have a dirty horizon, which means because of the moisture, when you go from the top of the sky to your horizon, it goes blue, blue-green. There'll be kind of a yellowish green, which looks a little bit like this. Let me make sure I have it the right way. And then it'll go all the way down to a pinkish, a little darker pink. And then it'll eventually become this red violet. There is something on here. So if that's a little too much, I can bring it a little lighter. Okay. The top part of this, I would like it to be just a little bit bluer, with a nice lighter blue maybe. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a heavy hand, I'm about a 2. And I'm using the palm of my hand to blend it. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, the bottom is a little heavy for me. So I'm going to use this little spongy thing because my hand isn't doing it. And then I might leave it like that, but I think I would be wiser to go a little lighter on here. Incrementally lighter. I'm not going, right from 10 to a 1. I try to go incrementally. I still would like it a little lighter. That's a little creamy. Let's go back and put in a little bit of the pink. Maybe that'll make me happier. I suppose it may. Okay, that makes me happier. And we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to fuss with it anymore. It is what it is. So now I'm going to continue with my new pastels. And what I'm going to do is basically put in, now sometimes in the original reference, there is this ochre back here. So I might use some local color. Does that mean that I'm going to not use a complement on top of it? Well, I don't know. And that for me is the beauty. I could really screw this up, but hopefully not. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to put in light touch. And then it goes a little bit into here, and there's some kind of what appears to be I don't know, it's kind of a muted orange green there. And then there's some darks in here, light touch. And it kind of comes around like this. So see, it kind of formulates my S naturally for my armature. So this is like so. And what I like is that it doesn't have to be exactly, because it's my painting. I'm orchestrating it. So I have some darks still in here, and then it gets really dark. So I'm gonna switch to my blue spruce, which is pretty dark, and put it in here. And what I see from, where's my value sketch? Up there. It kind of goes like so, and it kind of meanders into here, so that more or less I have my S going in here like so. Now I have to somehow come across and come back. So I get you over here. My focal point's going to be top right. So I'm going to go back and just kind of add a little bit of something there. And then down below, that's lighter down here, which is really pluff mud is what we have. And then this is also some pluff mud. And pluff mud, there was some warm in here I should put, and here's some warm. And this is a lot of green because I live in the land of green. So I'm putting its complement there. Sometimes I use local colors, sometimes I don't. And I think that we'll just stop there and put some, hold on one second, let me just take a look at this. There's a few reeds or whatever shapes I should say in here. Okay, and so that's my underpainting before I dilute it. So I use 70% rubbing alcohol and a cheap nickel brush from, I didn't use any purple, huh? Okay. A cheap nickel brush because it gets irregular at the top real fast. They're, you know, from the hardware store. This one came from progradessupplies.com. That's how lazy I am to go to the hardware store. I order everything online. And I just keep my alcohol in a little jar. Now, because I live in an area that's very humid, if it's really humid and I'm painting outside, I use 90%. But inside here, I use 70%. I honestly don't know if it really makes a difference, but okay. So what I'm going to do, basically, I think I want to just go back 1 second and add, where's my little thing with all my littles? There. I want to add a drop of a tree line back here. There is a tree line, but after that, I don't really think it's important for me to know what else is there. So I should start with the lighter colors because once they, and if they mingle, they mingle. If I have drips, which I embrace, fine. I can always go over them. But because I'm a little concerned about the tree line on the horizon, I'm going to start there because I just don't want to screw that up. I want my tree line. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to go to one of my smaller brushes for that. I'm going to use a fan brush, a very tiny fan brush, because the bristles on the nickel brush was a little bit long. And these are off in the distance. So aerial perspective tells me they have to be a whole lot smaller than if they were in the front where the viewer is. And they have to be grayer and lighter because they are in the back. And I always hold my brush. I was told, you're a painter, hold your brush like a painter. And my students go crazy. They go, I walk by them and I go, you're not holding a brush like a painter. And then I'm just going to, I was going to start with the light, but now I already had the dark on this brush. So I figured I might as well continue for a minute. And all I'm doing is just diluting. I'm going back to the bristle brush. Let me see if there's anything on here. Yeah, there is. I'm trying to keep it away from there. That's okay. I just wiped it off. I have some paper towel down below. Okay. And let's try to do this. Clean it up and then, okay. what I think about when I start doing this is I think about remembering this particular scene. I know exactly where this is. It was at the end of my street before I moved. We moved to a smaller cottagey type place from a much larger house at the beginning of the pandemic. And I'd go back to this particular place, which I adore, a lot. Morning, noon, and night, I'd paint there because it changed because of the light. And so I know it really well. And I think about how much it's not that I miss it, it's just how much I enjoyed it and loved it. And that's what's nice about this. I can recreate it for myself, sort of. And I'm gonna go for it here because I want to make sure that these darks get in there. Where's my value sketch? Okay. These darks are important. That's why it has to be a new pastel that has, some, not just a medium tone. The blue spruce is very, very strong. There is a nice drip there. I don't know if it's going to see the light of day or not, but we'll find out. So when I dip and then I kind of blot on the paper towel so that it's not too wet. I mean, you want drips, but you don't want it crazy drips either. And I know that the pluff mud is kind of a purplish color, but I'm anticipating that, but I don't know what's going to happen until I actually start painting it. And then another thing we forget to do that's really important is to step back and see what you've got. Okay. And then a little bit over here we didn't do. Okay, that's it. That's my underpainting. If there's a question, please ask. Okay. I'm looking for the top. Here it is. I just have to clean my brush. Otherwise, I have a pile of dirty brushes. So when this is dry, I say to myself, because when I look at a scene like this or stand in front of it, there is so much texture. There's all kinds of down here, this pluff mud. I'm thinking, how can I duplicate the pluff mud feeling? I don't have to duplicate the mud, but the feeling that it's soft and mushy. What I'll probably do at some point to do that is add sludge. I don't know if anybody knows what sludge is. If you don't, just ask, but I probably will put some sludge here with, maybe it could be colored, I can tint it with a palette knife.
I'm going to ask,
Also,
what is sludge? I'm asking.
Sure. Sludge is the cheaper version of gesso. So I use clear gesso, not white gesso usually, although if I'm going to gesso boards, sometimes I do use the cheaper version, the white version on sale. Sludge is the byproduct of the process of creating gesso, and it's cheaper. It comes, I'll show you. Well, where's my jar? Hold on. It comes in a jar and is very reasonable, and it looks like this, and it's just grayer. It's not white and it's not clear. So it says each batch will vary in tint and granular content. It's an excellent barrier ground with the same flexibility, strength, and adhesion qualities as finest grade gesso. Use as economical gesso and enjoy the satisfaction of helping the environment because it's done with recycled pigments. So, and it's harvested from the washing process. Now you know what what sludge is. I love sludge. It's thick, but I can water it down. I can add marble dust to it and make it something that would look more like the mud. The problem is that all these things take time to dry. And so when we're in a session like we are today, I'm going to show you what I would do next. I'm kind of talking so I can make sure that this is dry. I use a hair dryer if I have to, but also sometimes it needs to be, it's thick and it needs to set. And so that takes time. So what I did is I did a duplicate of this ahead of time with the product on it. So we'll go in steps. So what I would next do is I would take, depends. Sometimes I'm in the mood to just take some gesso here. Today I'm going to use fine pumice gel, still in acrylic medium. You can blend it, you can color it. It adds a fine texture. So in my mind, standing in front of this, these reeds and salt marsh grasses are very textured. Within each blade, there's a lot of stuff in there. And it's really wonderful how here the light catches the top of these, and back here, it loses the yellow, which in nature, that's the first color to go as you recede is yellow. So it loses the yellow and becomes this ochre. And on this particular day, it was a cloudy day, but that doesn't matter because it's still fractured light. That's still, if we really wanted to sit and look at it and analyze it, most of these colors are there. You just are looking at a lie because it's a photograph. But anyway, so I take the pumice gel and I put it in a little container, like one of these little Dixie cups. And if you take the brush that we had before, okay, let me just get a dollop of that in here. Okay, so I take about this much, I put it in my Dixie cup. I'm going to put this brush in water just to clean the handle so I can touch it again. And then I'll wet my brush, but I'm not going to dilute this very much. And my brush is wet from the alcohol. So I can use it that way too. Just blot it. Actually, I want to clean it more than blotting. Okay, so then what I do is I just go in here and I just take my brush and I decide you're gonna have more detail, more warm hues, more intensity, more value changes as you go from one plane to the next. And so in here where I'm standing, I would very much like to have some of this texture. So I'm just going to put it in here with this pumice gel. And I'm going to vary it. I'm going to take the bottom part of my brush and kind of help it by making some reeds. That'll give me more texture in the front. And then I'm going to dip in here again. And I hate to lose these beautiful drips, but texture here is more important, I think. So I'm going to do that there. I might have a little bit of texture up in here because I don't want a lot now because I'm receding, I'm going back, but you also want to balance. So I could put a little bit here that starts my S goes. So by putting a little bit more where I have my armature, which in this case is an S, and it could be a lot of other letters, there's a lot of armatures. And then you go around, and by the time I finish, since my focal area, my center of interest is in here, I'll have this hopefully harmonizing. Now this would take time to dry, or I'd have to interrupt and shut down and use the hair dryer. So that's why I'm going to switch from this one, okay, which is wet. Take it off this board, maybe. I might have glued this one down, who knows. Yay. Okay. And then when this is dry, I can work on that. Because God knows I need to do another painting today. So using the one that's dry, if it'll stay up here, let's see. I might have to put a little bit of something. Usually I just put a piece of tape in the corners and then tape all around, but it looks like it might stay or might not. All right, so on this one, I did the bottom first and I didn't do the sky. So let's see what happens if we do this. You know what? I just want to put a drop of this Elmer's on the corner. I just don't want this dropping while we're doing this. Just a drop of Elmer's glue. Okay. And I'm not going to be looking at the picture because I know, and I would encourage, unless you're going to do something that's so complex that it has to look like a handkerchief or a piece of lace, work from memory. I'm a landscape painter, so that's easier said than done. When somebody makes lace and things like that, because they really need to be more accurate. Okay, so this is the painting that was started a few days ago for this, and it has some drips, but it's basically the same thing. And I didn't put the sky in, so to show you the reverse, I'm going to start again. Let's put in the highest part of the sky will be a little bit darker as for the blue anyway. And then I'm going to put in the blue green and lighten it up with a little bit of this. Okay, and then I'm going to put in some of that light lavender, I think is what it was called. We called it blue violet. And I added a little bit of this peachy color, which is what happens in the sky. If it's late in the day and you live in the South and you have a marsh to look at. And then the last thing I'll add in that splendid is the dirty horizon. So I'm blending with my palm. I don't want demarcations. That's why I wanted to make sure that the values were the same. Now there is a line over here when I step back, but I don't know why that doesn't bother me because it looks like it reads very well rather than it being obliterated. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let the painting do what it wants to be, whatever the painting wants to be. I'm taking a mauvey red purple, the dirty horizon, and I'll blend that. I hear a dog. Okay. And so now we have a sky again. We might even like it a little bit lighter on one side over here. Okay. So I'm going to go back in and do the horizontal line. I'm taking a very dark, this happens to be Richardson's blue box. They're all different hues and values of blues. Now we know that it's got to be toned down back here, but it still has to be set dark because trees, anything vertical will be the darkest in your composition since the light isn't going through it. So I'm gonna reset that with a little bit of alcohol. And see how that looks. I'm just responding to what the painting is doing. I don't have any set, what do I want to say, plan besides my general plan. And I'm just using that little fan brush and imagining that that line is not, and that's one of the elements of design. And I'm just imagining what that would look like if I was standing there late in the day, which is what the sky is giving me. I have my line. I'm gonna let that dry and go back in and maybe add some gray green or something to gray it down. And the way to gray down is always to pick the complement. So in here, my warmest warms would be closer to the viewer down here, but they would be, you can still have ochres in the back, but me personally, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I think I might choose to do something different. I'm going to take, now as I said, I try to maintain my pastels as limited palette and take them all out and stuff, but with us today, I don't really have the time to do that and plan it all. So I'm just going to utilize the underpainting and work with that because green's best friend is purple and the secret ingredient is orange. I knew that, which is why I put this green on top of this orange. Plus, it's also the complement of the red because I knew this was going to be green. And I'm going to take a purple and instead of where it lightens up there, I'm just going to put in a purple and that should work nicely because I have green's best friend now. Are we laughing? Why are we laughing? Does it look silly? No. Okay. So the next thing we'll do is we're going to tame down a little bit that tree line. So I'm going to take.
We like that you said that green was purple's best friend.
Oh yes, I love purple, but it works.
It does work.
I mean, you know, I wouldn't. So here I'm adding some green in there, but I'm still going to. I want to tampen it down. It's still too much. And I think what I might want to do is this is, you know, there's a warm red and a cool red. I'm looking for a cool red, which is like an alizarin, which may or may not work back here. We'll see. You can't decide till you try it. And you know, when something is so strong like an alizarin, you got to really be careful what you're doing back there because it'll work because it'll take over. And you know, oh, that's nice, except that it can't be all one line. It's got to have breaks in it. Can't be all serious. Yeah, stuff like that. My dirty horizon can't get all obliterated either. Okay, so something softer. Okay. Okay. And if I step back, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. If I go to an ochre, let me see here, like this kind of that's way too bright. So I need something that's a lot more like that. And if I do that and keep working with it and put it, just block it in. I can feel some of the texture there from the pumice gel. You put something in one place, you got to put it in another place. You can hear it. That's how you can tell if you are making interesting marks. If you listen to what you're doing and you hear different sounds, if you hear the same, change it. It's got to be interesting. And that's about it. I think it comes down a little bit. Where's my thing? Okay, yeah. All right. Now, what is going on right here? I'm not sure yet, but we'll get back to it. Actually, we're not going to get back to it. We're going to find out rather quickly what's going on there. Because I want your eye to end up here. So I took a much lighter ochre just to get your attention. If you think of your landscape as, well, two ways. One, as you're looking through a camera lens where the sides are not, are blurry peripherally. And then the other way is to think of it as a vignette, where the vignette is not in as much focus as the main character, your main star, which is up here. Now, the complement of that could make that a little bit more exciting. And the complement, because it's an ochre yellow, would be some kind of a purple, which works great here. And therefore, I'm thinking if I use it one place, I should use it another, but I'm going to let some of that underpainting show through. So I'm only, if you hear it, I'm only going about a 2, if that. Now let's see, we had our S going this way and then up here, right? Where's my S? I lost my S completely. Oh yeah, okay. And then it went from here up to here and then there. Let's see, if we put in something a little bit more, it's just something I use a lot, like a peachy thing. It'll catch the eye, basically. And I know that it needs to be warmer in the front. So I'm going to just kind of warm it up a little bit down here. If it's too much, I'll just find a complement to it. And now, although it was green in the reference photo, to me, it's just a warm. I don't care what Color Snap showed me. That's a good idea if I want to use local color. But I'm going with what the painting is telling me. Painting is telling me make a few interesting marks. Get your viewer's eye up here somehow. And then down below, since I have, what do I have? I have some plucked mud that's a funny color. I have funny colors like this. This is the good one. I already have all that texture from the pumice gel. That's what, I don't know if you can really see that. I can move this over in a second and show it to you, but it's really what makes the interesting part of the foreground is that you've got this sweeping. I didn't even plan it, but sweeping into here, which gets your eye going. And then you go with the S curve over to, that's interesting. That you know, I didn't know what that line is, but it's a line and it's different. And I believe in doing things that create some sense of different. I had put a little bit of the pumice gel there. Okay, back up, take a look, see what you think. That's what I'll do next. I'll back up, take a look, see, well, the tree line is a little crazy. We really need to fix that a little bit. I will fix the tree line with I'm gonna take a little bit of this lighter. It's a blue, but it shouldn't be so. Well, that'll recede. At least that's fine. That'll recede. Plus, it just by luck, it happens to be the complement of this peachy color. That's just luck. Okay. Now we had this, right? We had this line. It was like a rivulet or something of water, I think, that came down here. But it was dark, right? Even though it was dark, doesn't mean I have to leave it dark. I can make it a little lighter if I want to, because it's my painting. Now, usually if you do water, you go horizontally, but this is not really water. It's just like a little rivulet. I don't know what you call it in English, but there, a little bit, something that'll say. Now, this happens to be the same value with that green, which is really nice because on top of the fluff mud, there's always kind of a reflection from the sky. And then I think the last thing I'll do, because I could go on and bore you some more, is take, where's my other trick here? Okay. Okay, I'll just do it without the trick. Let's say if I have my tic-tac-toe, right? And I said that in my focal point was, oh, I just messed it up. It's going to be up here. I'm going to make believe there's a globe, a moon, whatever, but I'm not going to leave it as that. I'm going to remove it. You can see the moon in the daytime, but it's never a full moon in the daytime. So you can't leave it like that. Well, everybody knows I use a moon in my thing. My focal point, not always, but frequently. And I just remove that right side. And so that it still reads as that. And then wherever, if I measure from the moon to the horizon, it's this much. I'm going to go that much from the horizon down and put a mark for reflection so that it reads properly. I might do a little of this so that my eye moves up. And if I use it in one place, you got to use it in another. I'll just leave it at that. The last thing I'll show you, I don't know where I took that from, is sometimes, which in this case, I like it. Let me back up. Yeah, I like it. It's kind of interesting, weird. If you take a cake, I don't cook, and I know how, but I don't want to. This is a cake scraper bowl scraper, plastic. So let's say that I'm not going to blend with my hand or my other. This is just another tool I use. And I wipe off what's there. And that smooths it out nicely. And that's about it. Ta-da!
All right. That's really clever. So Eve,
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Yeah, you did not put any alcohol in the sky, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so the alcohol only went where you're going to be doing all the texture stuff. Well, now I am laughing.
That's good. That's why I like giving out those awards. I wanted to mention it made people happy. They kept saying, oh, I'm so surprised. It made me feel so good. Okay, go ahead. So no, I did not put alcohol in the sky.
Okay, great. All right. I just want to make sure I understood that. All
Yeah.
right.
Now,
Now, some of your paintings, and not necessarily this one, I noticed you put some red like spots here and there.
you ask for it, you're gonna get it. So where's my box? Hold on, you gotta give me a second to find, okay, well, here's one. So I take a little thing like this, this is a red orange, but it's close
Okay.
enough. And I do it where usually I do it where there's green because it's the complement. But see,
Right.
there wasn't a whole lot. There's ochres, but there's some stuff there. And this is green. And then we can put a little bit there. That's it. There you go.
Okay, just wanted to know.
Anything else I can show you, Sharon?
No, I'm going to catch you at IAPS.
You're gonna get me, well, you know what, I'm seriously thinking this, I actually used you a little today because I'm thinking this worked well as far as preparing it ahead of time. And I was able to explain the process without it being overwhelming, because I mean, I can go into details and, you know, on and on.
Right.
But I think that this might work, the same concept might work well for that particular, the textured one.
Right.
But again, the only thing I guess I could do differently is to have several boards that are ready to, or even on this one, and add the sludge and add clear and add dust and whatever else for texture. We'll see. The other one, yes.
I want to, some of the people are signing off here a little bit, so, but I want to read to you what they said.
Okay.
I don't know whether you can see it from there, but Patty Hagan has said that this was a wonderful demonstration and thank you very much. Beth Franco said, I learned so much from you. Les Brandt, our brand new member who just joined this morning, he said, this already more than paid for my membership. Thank you all, and especially thanks to Eve.
Oh,
And somebody else said, I saw things during this demo I'd never seen in other workshops or demos. This was wonderful.
oh, that's so nice.
I just wanted to
Sharon,
give
can I
you
ask a
some
question?
feedback.
Sure.
The color snap, is that the picture next to your pastel?
It's right here. All I did is print it out. It's Color Snap will take the photograph that's on my phone. And I selected this particular one. And then when I go there, it has a bunch of dots. It'll say match. It has 3 options. I go to the 3rd one where it says match a color. And it shows in different areas a little circle. Now, let's say I want to know exactly what color this is. I move the circle to that spot and it'll come up down here. And then I just printed it out.
I can't see where you're pointing.
Oh, anywhere on the picture.
Okay.
So-
No, but he meant is the color snap that little photo to the left of your painting?
Yes,
Yes, okay, good.
yes, yes,
Thank
it
you.
is. Sure.
Is Color Snap an app?
It
Yes.
is. It's, I
An app.
think it's free. If it's, I'm pretty sure it's free. It's just in the Apple store called Color Snap.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I think it's interesting that, and these are my colors and this is the kind of thing I do, but interesting, as much as I try to stay true to the reference from the value sketch where it's very dark in the front, I don't have that in the finished product, but I don't care because I like it just the way it is.
Yeah, I do too. I like the colors especially.
And so the truth is, I listen to the painting and that's another thing. I go with my intuition and I just listen to my heart, because if I go back to that photo, I'm now going to add dark over light and I'm going to end up with crap. It's going to be a mess. You got to know when to stop. And I think, I don't know the time, but how long do you think this took me? It took me less than an hour.
No, it took
An
you
hour
about
and 10 minutes.
hour and 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. So that's good. That's good. And you know, I'm going to post it and say that Arizona Pastel Society was wonderful.
Thank you.
Because they said
Oh.
I was wonderful, so I'm gonna say they're wonderful too.
Well, you know, the other thing you can do, Eve, if you send me a photo of it, I will go ahead and put it on our website with your
Sure.
photo, saying that you did this as a demo. And also, I should point out to everybody that you do classes, do you not? I think you
Right
do.
now, I'm only doing live classes, to tell you the truth.
Oh, okay.
Well, what I thought I would do is, I was doing quite a bit, and I have a live class. There's several private little islands around here. Anyway, 3-4 days. And then there's a lovely town called Bluffton, which is a historic community. I'm doing a 3-day in February. But somewhere I thought either January or March, I will put on a Zoom, sometimes I do once a week for 2 hours for 4 weeks. Sometimes I just do a 2-day thing. I have to think about it. I'm thinking I'd like to do a real in-depth color type of theory, not just theory, but, I use primary, not just primary, but I separate them in another color wheel where I have, well, it's an easy way to understand warms and cools. And that's one of the things people, I think, need to understand.
Right. Well, you can always let me know when you're going to do something like that. We can put it in our newsletter.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. That's very, very kind. Yeah, I will take a picture of it and sign it and all that jazz. And
Okay.
then I'll send you a picture of it. Yeah.
Sure. And,
I had a wonderful time, but I always do.
okay.
Eve,
We have
may I ask a question?
Sure.
You mentioned that you mount your own using a repositionable adhesive on Gator foam.
No, Gator board.
Gator board, I'm sorry, Gator board. But is that like a sheet, sort of like?
No, I'll show you what it is.
Okay.
I got it right here. Hold on.
And if it's repositionable, is it actually totally permanent?
Well, all I know is I have a bunch of sprays, okay? And so this is one of them. This is Scotch Photo Safe Spray Adhesive, Photo Bound, dries quickly and clear, fine mist spray, permanent bond, which is fine. But what I like better than this is what the one that's called repositional, because sometimes you lay down the paper on a board and it just needs to be moved a little bit. And if it doesn't reposition, it doesn't happen. Just give me a second and I'll see if I can find it. Okay, I got it. So this is Scotch Spray Mount Repositional Adhesive.
And you put that on only one surface only?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I am not I'm a neatnik in some things, and in other things like this, I'm not going to make myself crazy. I just won't. So I just try to make sure to clean the spray top. You hold it upside down and still use it. But I just go put it down. I do a whole pile and then go.
Anyone else have any last questions for Eve?
No, I don't think I do. Does anybody else?
I just want to say that I love how you used your colors in this, and you explained how you were adding certain colors for certain reasons. And I really, really appreciate that. And the fact that that you chose the colors that felt right rather than what were on the reference photo is very, very fun to see. I'm very happy to see that because I'm a stickler for the reference photo, and I'd love to learn how to not be.
Yeah, some people have to, it's just part of their DNA. They have to paint what they see. But because I was not trained, and because, people told me what a waste of time their art schooling was, I happen to be a person that likes letters and degrees. And so to me, it's like, I'm not legit till I have some letters, which is why I wanted my PSA and the IAPS. And I would have liked to have an MFA or something, but I see where it could hinder. I think the wise way to go is to take from the very best. I took from the very best, and that's and let it seep in. It doesn't happen overnight, you know, like understanding color. Look, I'm still doing stuff like this next to my, I mean, I have stuff all over. Today I took notes from another book. I just constantly am working through the ideas because there's so much. There's just a lot. But if you can if you can get to a level of being more intuitive, it becomes much easier. So I look at it as a meditation. My daily practice is well, I also meditate first thing in the morning, but aside from that, and I'm very fortunate. I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do anything but paint. But
It is fortunate.
what? Well, this is called being a princess, but I'm really good at being a princess. So what happens?
I want to know how you get away with not cooking or cleaning. I want to do that too.
Yeah, we need some.
You just don't do it. You just don't. You just don't do it. That's it. It just does. My husband is one. You know, he's an angel. What can I tell you? He really is. But he also affords me the luxury of time. And so I, you know, if I have to do an errand, I feel like it's taken away from my painting. But I forced myself to drive into town a couple times a week or to get gas, because otherwise I won't even leave the studio, especially once I get my new doors next week. But I think the key is if you can get yourself into a meditative state where it's calm and it's quiet and it's peaceful and it's serene, I think it comes out. I think, you know, that the idea of your intention is huge. I will frequently put a word before I start, especially now because the other workshop at IAPS is atmosphere and mood. And that has a lot to do with emotion, sense of place, and all those kinds of things. And so I put one word, let's say it's happy. Well, what kind of colors are you going to use that are happy? How are you going to show happy? Well, then I think about it. And yellow happens to be the most popular color for happy. And so maybe I would have more of a spring scene rather than a tonalist, somber evening, fall night. And so you work with this and you practice. And as long as it feels good and it's fun, you do it. When it stops being fun, then you just don't do it.
I've had several people ask if they can see you on Facebook. So
Sure.
they just asked for Eve Miller. Is that correct?
I think on Facebook I'm at EMEM2121 or Eve Miller. Let me see.
Are you? If anybody's friends with me, I share her stuff all the time. So
Okay, on Facebook it says Eve Miller, and yeah, that's all it says is Eve Miller.
Right, I thought
Yeah.
so. So if you want to see her be a friend on Facebook, just search for Eve Miller. That's what you do there. So
Yeah, on Instagram, you know, I happen to like Instagram a whole lot better, tell you the truth. But I feel like I have to at least, you know, be somewhere showing something. Because I mean, I no longer, I'm in a gallery for the last 10 years here, and they're very good to me. So I don't really go looking for a whole lot. But I used to belong to the art associations local and in Charleston and stuff like that. But so because I don't want to drive to Charleston, Instagram I like because it's EMEM2121 because it's a wider audience as far as you know, I have a lot of friends in France and stuff like that that don't do Facebook, that only do Instagram. So yeah, but anybody who wants to or ask me a question, I'm more than happy to share.
okay, great.
Eve, before
Yes.
before I give them all a chance to give you their thanks and a round of applause, I want to mention one thing. Following your idea of being intuitive. And
Mhm.
that is, I wanted to give our group a reminder that our next meeting, which I invite you to join us for this reason, our next meeting is in 2022 on January 9th. And our speaker is Jimmy Wright, president of PSA, and he's going to do a program for us on his abstracts.
I
And,
took Jimmy Wright's workshop in Florida.
oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Well, anyhow, everyone, please be sure you put January 9th on your calendar. I'm sure it'll be a very special meeting.
He is amazing. He did he's so knowledgeable. It's worth every second. Absolutely. Yeah. And if I get the link, I'd love to join.
Very good. Well, how about if everyone unmute yourself, please? And let's give Eve a round of applause and say our thanks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank
Yes,
you. It
thank
was
you.
lovely being with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh, I'm glad. Be
Everybody will
well.
Signing off now.
Very good.
All
Sharon,
right.
anything
Have a
last from
lovely
you before we
evening.
close the meeting?
Eve, I'm going to contact you about sending me the information about all the different apps that you talked about. And then I'll get back to our people.
Okay.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Sharon.
All right, you
All right.
guys. Don't forget.
Bye-bye,
to register
everyone.
for the
Thank
show.
you.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you, Eve.
You're
All right.
welcome. My pleasure.
bye now.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Bye.
then, before I close the meeting, I would just like to say, I think we should all give ourselves a hand. We made it through 2021.
21.
Despite the difficulties, we
Yeah.
hung
Yes,
together
we
as
did.
a group, and I'm proud of us for doing that. And thank everybody who worked separately out there on your own to make everything happen for the group this year. So on behalf of the group and me as your Zoom host, I want to say happy holidays to all of you. And
Nice.
I hope we go into a really wonderful and productive new year and we do it together.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Again.
Bye,
Okay.
guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Goodbye then. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.